The night Jake got home early, he heard a giggle he hadn't heard in months. By the time he reached the cracked bedroom door, his marriage was already gone. Rain hits Millbrook sideways on Tuesdays, the kind that makes the streetlights look tired and the town feel even smaller than it is. I closed up the shop early that night. Not for anything special, just because the transmission on Mr. Halpern's Buick needed a part one wouldn't get until morning. For once, my hands weren't stained with grease past 9 p.m. I drove home in my old pickup, heater groaning like it always did, thinking about nothing in particular. Life had been ordinary for a long time. Too ordinary. Wake up, work, pay bills, sleep next to a woman who'd stopped reaching for me months ago. I chalked it up to stress, maybe burnout. Maybe she was just tired. I didn't push. I fix what's broken, but I don't pry into what doesn't want to be fixed. The house was dark when I walked in. Quiet except for the steady tick of the kitchen clock and the rain tapping the windows. I shrugged off my jacket, boots still wet, when I heard it. A giggle. Light, playful. Not the tired, polite chuckles Linda had been giving me lately. This one had sugar in it. I froze at the bottom of the stairs. Then I heard her voice, soft, low, the kind of tone you use when you want to be heard by only one person. Stop. Tommy, you're terrible. The name hit me like a wrench to the chest. Tommy Brennan, the town golden boy PE teacher. Muscles, sunshine, and a smile that made PTA moms lose their rings. I moved up the stairs slowly, each step steady as a mechanic diagnosing a problem he already knows the answer to. When I reached the top, the bedroom door was cracked an inch. Just enough. Linda stood in front of the mirror in lingerie I'd never seen. Red, lace, something meant to be unwrapped. She twirled a strand of hair, laughing again. Tomorrow works. Same place. Her phone rested between her cheek and shoulder while she adjusted the straps, smoothing them like she needed to impress him through the line. My jaw clenched, but everything inside me went still, the way it does when an engine seizes and the world quiets around it. I didn't burst in, didn't shout, didn't ask who Tommy was, because the room already told me. Yeah, she whispered, voice softening. I can't wait either. Her reflection caught me, just barely, standing in the shadows, but she didn't notice. She was too busy preening for the man on the other end. She turned slightly, giving him a view meant for someone else. Not the man who'd paid the mortgage, fixed her car, and trusted her without question. Her smile wasn't the one she gave me. It was new, sharper, younger. I felt something settle in me then. Not heartbreak, not disbelief. Mechanical clarity. The kind you get when a machine finally fails and you realize it didn't break tonight, it's been breaking for a long time, and you just didn't want to see it. Linda ended the call with a whisper I couldn't quite make out, slipped her phone onto the dresser, and kept admiring herself in the mirror, like she was getting ready for a future that didn't include me. I stepped back from the door. No sound. No explosion of emotion. Just the truth settling into place. My marriage isn't ending tomorrow. It had already left me. Fixing things teaches you patterns. Bolts loosen the same way they're tightened. Wires tell the truth if you follow them long enough. People aren't much different. They leave trails, sounds, habits, and in Linda's case, a whole map of carelessness she thought I'd never bother reading. The morning after the giggle, she acted normal. Too normal. Kiss on the cheek, rushed coffee, a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. I nodded, played along, and watched her leave in her silver sedan. As soon as she pulled out, I picked up her phone from the counter. She'd left it unlocked, little mercy or big mistake, depending on how you look at it. I installed a tracking app without feeling much of anything. No shaking hands, no nerves. Just work. Straightforward. Steady. Like replacing a belt or cleaning a carburetor. When you've already accepted the truth, the rest becomes logistics. The first ping came an hour later. She wasn't at her office. She was at a coffee shop across town. Then another address. Then another. By noon, she parked behind the Millbrook Inn. A place with rooms you rent when you don't want to be remembered. I didn't chase her inside. Not yet. Instead, I watched from a distance, camera ready, documenting the obvious. Her walking in. Tommy showed up 10 minutes later. Him checking his hair in the glass door like he was preparing for a game he expected to win. I took pictures. Steady hands. Clean frames. Evidence not for revenge, not even for satisfaction. For truth. Truthfully, you can put it on a table and say, here, this is what you did. That night, while she showered, I went through the dresser. Not rifling, searching. There's a difference. I knew what belonged and what didn't. That's when I found the gym bag. Tucked behind sweaters she never wore. Zip tight. Inside. Cologne I'd never smelled on me. Hotel key cards from the same place I'd watched them enter. And a Polaroid that stopped me cold. Linda in the red lingerie. And behind her, reflected just enough in the mirror, were Tommy Brennan's arms. Bigger, tanned, holding the camera like he owned the moment. I didn't slam the drawer, didn't crumple the photo, didn't even breathe heavily. Rage wasn't the point anymore. Clarity was. I slid everything back exactly how I found it. The next few days were routine on the outside. Linda pretends to be busy at work. Me working long hours at the shop. But every night, after the lights went out, I organized what I knew. Timestamps, photos, pings, receipts, the Polaroid. A pattern formed, clean and irrefutable. And something else formed with it. A line. The line between being the loyal husband who waited for scraps of affection and the man who decided his own ending. On Thursday afternoon, Linda walked into the kitchen humming. A tune she hadn't hummed in years. I watched her open a bottle of wine she never bought unless she had someone to impress. She didn't look at me. I didn't need to. She was already living a second life. But now I know every step of it. As she walked away, phone buzzing in her hand, I felt the shift inside me. Not an explosion, more like a switch flipping. A tired machine powering down one purpose and gearing up for another. She'd rewritten the marriage without asking. Fine. I'd rewrite the ending. You don't confront a problem head-on until you know exactly how it works. Engines, people, same rule. So I didn't storm into the gym one afternoon and start swinging like some idiot looking for a viral moment. I built the moment, piece by piece. Tommy Brennan loved two things. Mirrors and his Camaro. The car was loud, red, and exactly the kind of machine a man drives when he needs the world to know he lifts. I'd done a tune-up on it a year earlier, which meant I knew its wiring better than he ever would. Installing a remote engine kill device wasn't hard. The hard part was waiting. By Friday, the weather had cleared, but the air still felt heavy, as if the storm hadn't finished what it started. I parked across from Millbrook High, engine off, hat low. Students trickled out in clumps, laughing, cussing, living their young lives without knowing they were about to witness something they'd talk about for years. Linda came out first, dressed sharp, hair done, looking more alive than she ever did at home. Tommy followed. A grin stretched across his face like he earned it. They walked side by side toward his Camaro. Close. Too close for just colleagues. I clicked the switch the moment he turned the key. The engine coughed, sputtered, and died. Tommy frowned, tried again. Same result. Linda glanced around nervously, clutching her purse. Tommy popped the hood, pretending he knew what he was looking for. He didn't. He leaned in, flexing like the engine would respect him more if he showed his biceps. I stepped out from behind the maintenance building. Evening, I said. He jerked up, nearly hitting his head on the hood. Linda froze. Her face drained faster than a leaking radiator. Jake, she whispered. Tommy blinked. Do I know you? I walked closer, boots steady on the asphalt. My name's Jake Morrison. Nothing. The husband, I added. Recognition sank in. Tommy's smirk collapsed. Linda's mouth opened, then shut again, the way a liar does when they realize there's no good version of the truth left. Tommy straightened up, trying to puff himself larger. Look, man, let's... I didn't let him finish. The taser snapped once. Quick, controlled, no theatrics, and he folded forward like someone unplugged him. Not screaming, not writhing, just collapsing onto the pavement with a grunt, hands guarding the part of himself he valued most. Linda rushed toward him, stumbling in her heels. Jake, what the hell are you doing? I stayed calm. He can call the police if he wants. She whipped her head toward me. You attacked him. And you were cheating, I said, voice flat. Remember what happens when you make this public? Evidence comes out. Affidavits. Photos. Maybe even financial audits. Her mouth shut again. Lips trembling. Eyes wet. Not from guilt, but fear. That's what I thought. Tommy groaned on the asphalt. Jesus, man, why? Quiet, I said. I'm talking. He obeyed. I crouched just enough to meet his eye. You're going to leave my life the same way you came into it, quietly and with your dignity already gone. You stay away from Linda. You stay away from Millbrook. And if I see your face again, next time won't be this polite. Tommy nodded, jaw clenched in pain. Linda knelt beside him now, hands shaking as she tried to help him sit up. Students were watching, whispering, phones half hidden. A teacher was staring from the doorway. Good. Let the rumor mill turn. I straightened, walked back toward my truck without rushing. Rule of confrontation. The man who leaves calmly is the one still holding power. When I drove past them, I glanced in the mirror. Tommy was on his knees, hunched and humiliated. Linda hovered beside him, angry, scared, unsure of who she should beg for help. She looked small. I kept driving. The balance had shifted, and they both knew it. Millbrook doesn't keep secrets, it recycles them. By Monday, the whole town was buzzing about the mystery husband who dropped Coach Brennan in the parking lot. No names, no proof, just whispers. At the diner, guys pretended not to stare while I ate my eggs. At the hardware store, old men smirked like they knew a good story when they heard one. I didn't deny anything, didn't confirm anything either. That's the beauty of silence. People fill it with whatever makes the story better. Tommy stayed home from work. Word was he told the school he slipped. No one bought it. Teenagers had already turned the whole scene into legend. The gym hero taken down by some ghost in a truck. I kept my head down, worked long hours, and spoke little. Inside, the pressure wasn't rage, it was precision. I knew I'd drawn blood. Now I needed to disassemble what was left. On Wednesday afternoon, the shop door slammed open so hard the bell hit the glass. Linda stood there, hair wild, eyes blazing, breathing hard like she sprinted from the parking lot. You did it, she snapped, pointing a trembling finger. Don't pretend you didn't. I wiped my hands on a rag. Did what? Tommy's car, the attack, all of it. I shrugged. Sounds like a lot of accusations from someone who shouldn't be making any. Her face twisted. You think you're so clever, but you can't scare me into admitting something I didn't do. I met her eyes, calm as a cold engine. You want to talk about lies? Or do you want to talk about how I know the Millbrook Inn gives discount rates on weekday afternoons? She flinched. Just a fraction, but enough. I don't know what you're planning, she said, voice cracking. But you're going too far. I tossed the rag onto the workbench. You already went too far, Linda. I'm just catching up. She opened her mouth again, but nothing came out. A liar's engine had finally seized. She stormed out, slamming the door harder than when she came in. The bell's ring faded slowly, like the shop itself was tired of listening to her. 2 hours later, the next visitor showed up. Tommy Brennan limped through the doorway, favoring his right side, jaw tight with fake confidence. His shoulders looked smaller than they had in the parking lot, like humiliation had deflated him. We need to talk, he said. I didn't look up from the carburetor I was cleaning. Do we? He stepped closer. I'm warning you. Whatever you think you're doing, back off. I set the carburetor down slowly. Warning me? His throat bobbed. He tried to square his shoulders, win back a fraction of the swagger he used to have. Yeah, I'm not afraid of you, man. Good, I said. Fear makes people stupid. He blinked, confused, just long enough for me to turn slightly, like I was grabbing a wrench. What I grabbed instead was a loose air hose. I didn't whip it, didn't strike him. I just let it hiss to life suddenly at full pressure. The noise blasted the small shop. Tommy stumbled backward in shock, tripping over a jack and falling hard onto the concrete. His elbow slammed the floor with a thud, and he let out a yelp he tried to swallow. I switched the hose off, walked toward him, stood over him. He scrambled to his feet, face red with a mix of pain and shame. You set me up. No, I said. You walked into a place you don't understand. He backed toward the door, clutching his elbow. This isn't over. For you, it is. He hesitated, then limped out, almost running by the time he reached the parking lot. When the door closed, the shop fell quiet again. The kind of quiet that follows a job well done. Tommy was rattled. Linda was unraveling. Neither of them understood what scared them most. That I wasn't yelling, wasn't throwing punches, wasn't losing control. I was planning, piece by piece, and they felt it closing in. When you start taking apart a machine, you eventually reach a part you didn't expect. Something hidden, something that changes the whole job. For me, that part showed up in a manila envelope on my porch Saturday morning. No note, no return address. Inside were printed copies of the motel photos I'd taken, along with several I hadn't. Angles from the motel hallway. A shot of Linda and Tommy in the parking lot. A blurry but unmistakable picture of Tommy kissing her neck as she unlocked a room. Someone else had been watching them. Someone who wanted me to know. There was a sticky note at the bottom with one line. Meet me at O'Malley's. Tonight. I went. O'Malley's is the kind of bar where the floor sticks to your boots and the lights are dim enough to hide regret. She was already there. Alone. Whiskey in front of her. Half untouched. Sarah Mitchell, Linda's coworker, the sharp-tongued attorney with the kind of ambition that makes people nervous. She didn't smile when I sat down. You're calmer than I expected, she said. I don't waste energy, I answered. You sent the photos? She nodded. I've known about their little fling for months. Linda thinks she's subtle. She's not. I waited. Let her talk. I want something, she said plainly. And I think you do too. I didn't nod, didn't speak, just held her eyes. She reached into her bag, placed a small flash drive on the table. Linda's been skimming client funds. Small amounts spread over multiple accounts. Enough to ruin her if it ever saw daylight. My jaw tightened, but not from shock. From understanding. Something bigger was unfolding. She used firm money, Sarah continued, swirling her glass, to pay for hotels, gifts, lingerie, vacations, all for Brennan. Proof? I asked. That's the flash drive. Transaction logs, emails, authorization codes. She took a slow drink. Your wife isn't just unfaithful. She's stupid. I didn't react. Sarah watched me closely, maybe trying to read whether I'd break, rage, bargain. She found nothing. What do you want from me? I finally asked. Her smile was thin, sharp. Revenge. Same as you. Then she leaned closer. Linda's been blocking my promotion for years. She screws clients, screws coworkers, screws you. I'm done letting her walk over everyone. So you want me to, what? Use this for you. I want us to help each other, she said. You want justice. I want her gone. We can get both. I picked up the flash drive. Heavy for something so small. Heavy because it meant this wasn't a simple affair anymore. This was a fraud, theft, career-ending criminal behavior. Sarah finished her whiskey, stood, and adjusted her coat. You're a smart man, Jake. Smarter than she ever gave you credit for. Use that. She left without looking back. I sat there a while, thumb pressing against the metal of the flash drive, realizing exactly what Sarah had handed me. Not fuel, dynamite, and I'd decide where to place it. Engines make sense when you take them apart. Wires, belts, pressure, everything has a reason. Betrayal doesn't follow the same rules, but money does. Numbers don't lie. They don't blush. They don't pretend. Sunday morning, I called in sick to the shop. First time in years. I sat at the kitchen table with coffee I barely tasted. Laptop open, the flash drive plugged in. The files loaded slow, like they knew what they carried. Transaction logs, PDF statements, email approvals. A spreadsheet color-coded in a way that made my stomach tighten. Linda had been stealing from clients for almost a year. Not thousands, tens of thousands. Small transfers disguised as filing fees, rushed service costs, billable hour adjustments. Each one routed through accounts she controlled at the firm. Clean enough to pass casual audits, sloppy enough that anyone determined could see the pattern. And I was determined. Then I found the folder labeled personal. Inside, receipts, hotel rooms, lingerie orders, jewelry. A trip to Cape Cod last month, she said, was a work retreat. Charges all tied directly to the stolen funds. She financed her affair with other people's money. The betrayal didn't just get bigger, it changed shape. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't romantic. It was predatory, calculated. The kind of selfishness you can't talk your way out of. My phone buzzed. Linda. I let it ring. Then it buzzed again. And again. I finally answered. Her voice shook. Jake, someone sent photos to the firm. The partners saw them. They're asking questions. I don't know what's happening. I kept my voice even. Come home. What? Why? Because we need to talk. Now. Silence on the line. I imagined her standing in her office with her perfect hair and her expensive suit, suddenly realizing she wasn't untouchable. Jake, she whispered. Am I in trouble? Come home, I repeated, before you make things worse. She arrived 20 minutes later, eyes red, hands trembling. She tried to read my face, but I kept it still, controlled. She wasn't owed anything more. What's going on? She asked, voice thin. I closed the laptop but kept a hand on it. How long were you planning to lie? She swallowed. If this is about the photos, it's about all of it. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I have your transactions, I said. The stolen funds, the accounts, the receipts. I let the weight of each syllable land. Linda, you didn't just cheat. You committed felonies. She staggered back like the word itself hit her. No, Jake, no, listen. I can explain. You can't. And you won't talk your way out of this. Her breathing quickened, panic rising. Jake, please don't go to the partners. Don't go to the bar. Don't. I raised my hand. She stopped. You're going to sit down, I told her. And we're going to discuss the truth. All of it. If you cooperate, I'll consider how this plays out. If you don't, I let the sentence hang. Then every file on this flash drive goes to the district attorney. She covered her mouth, eyes filling with real fear. Maybe for the first time in her life. Sit, I said. She sat. Control shifted. Cleanly. Permanently. This wasn't about revenge anymore. Revenge is emotional. This was leverage. And I had all of it. Confessions aren't noble. They're pressure valves people crack only when the weight gets too heavy to carry. By the time Linda sat across from me at the kitchen table, she wasn't my wife anymore. She was a cornered lawyer trying to negotiate her way out of a fire she'd lit herself. I placed everything on the table. Motel receipts, bank transfers, screenshots, the Polaroid. The flash drive files are printed and stacked like a case file. She stared at the pile, breathing shallow, hands trembling in her lap. Start talking, I said. Tears came fast. Not the soft, guilty kind. Desperate. The kind people cry when their world stops making sense. She tried a dozen explanations in 30 seconds. Stress, loneliness, burnout, mistakes. But none of them survived the evidence. Why Tommy? I finally asked. Her face hardened. Because he made me feel alive. Not sorry. Not remorseful. Just selfish. I nodded once, slow, deliberate. And the money? She flinched. I was going to pay it back. You weren't, I said. You stole because you thought you were smarter than everyone else. She broke then. Loud sobs, clutching the table edge. Jake, please, I'm begging you. Don't ruin me. You ruined yourself. She cried harder. I opened my hand. Phone. She hesitated, then slid it across the table. I scrolled straight to Tommy's contact and hit call. Put it on speaker. Linda's eyes widened in panic. He answered on the second ring. Hey babe, it's over, I said. Dead silence. Linda, he finally whispered. She sobbed. Tommy, we can't. He knows everything. I leaned back. I watched her unravel. Tell him, I said. Her voice shook. It's done. We're done. Don't call me again. Tommy tried to argue, but I hung up on him. Clean. Final. Linda slumped forward, crying into her hands. I let her. There's a difference between cruelty and clarity. I wasn't interested in the first. Now, I said, sliding a yellow legal pad toward her. You're going to write a confession. Every transfer, every forged authorization, every expense. Her head snapped up. Jake, no, I can't. You can, I said. And you will, because if you don't, the DA gets everything before sunrise. She looked at the door as if escape existed. Didn't. Not anymore. Then she picked up the pen. She wrote for hours, line after line, court-admissible truth in her own handwriting. When she finished, I had her sign and date it. She hesitated, then scribbled her name, Linda Morrison, on the bottom. The last time she'd ever sign it that way. By midnight, she was drained. Eyes swollen, voice gone, hands shaking. She looked at me like a woman finally seeing the man she underestimated. I can fix this, she whispered. We can fix us. Please, Jake, I'm begging you. I stood, slowly. My chair is scraping the tile. There is no us anymore, I said. You ended that long before tonight. She collapsed into herself, silent, empty, beaten by the consequences she created. I took the confession, the evidence, and the flash drive. I walked down the hallway, closed the bedroom door behind me. The marriage died at that table. Not with shouting, not with vengeance, with the truth written in her own hand. Some engines aren't worth rebuilding. You don't waste hours polishing rust or coaxing life out of a block that's cracked straight through. You scrap it, salvage what's still good, and walk away. The Monday after Linda signed her confession, that truth finally sat clean and solid in my chest. She resigned from her firm before sunrise. No fight, no speech, no final performance. Just a typed letter, 2 boxes of belongings, and a reputation bleeding out faster than anyone could bandage it. The partners accepted her resignation without ceremony. Word spreads fast in a small-town legal community. Faster when the evidence is airtight. She spent the next week calling clients to return stolen funds. Every check she wrote cut another thread from the life she tried building with lies. Bankruptcy hovered close, and she knew it. But I didn't gloat. I didn't show up. I didn't interfere. Her consequences were hers alone. Tommy didn't last much longer. The school board put him on leave pending investigation, and the whispers turned to laughs. The man who strutted through hallways like he ran the place now slipped in after hours to clean out his office. A month later, he transferred to a district upstate. No goodbye party. No applause. Just a faded poster taken off a gym wall and thrown in a dumpster. Sarah Mitchell, meanwhile, rose fast. Promotions move quicker when obstacles remove themselves. I heard she became a senior partner within the quarter. She never contacted me again. Not for thanks, not for updates. She didn't need to. Our transaction was clean, precise, done. As for us, me and Linda, we moved through the divorce with the same cold efficiency you use stripping a totaled car. No shouting matches. No long speeches. She didn't contest anything. Couldn't. The leverage held. By spring, the papers were signed, and the marriage officially ended. She moved to Boston, took a paralegal job with a firm that didn't ask too many questions. Smaller paycheck, smaller title, smaller life. The kind she used to sneer at. But it was all she had left. I moved into a small rental above the shop. Quiet, cheap mine. The kind of place where a man can hear his own thoughts without someone twisting them. Evenings were slow but steady. Beer on the porch, tools cleaned before sunset, engines humming downstairs like a heartbeat I actually trusted. People in town treated me differently after the divorce. Respectful, careful, like they sensed a man who'd walked through fire and didn't need to brag about the burns. The rumors about the mystery husband never died, but no one said the name out loud. Good. Some truths work better as myths. One night, I sat in the shop long after closing, the place dim except for a single hanging lamp. An old V8 block rested on the stand, guts exposed, parts spread out like a diagram of choices. It reminded me of the whole mess. Every bolt, every crack, every shaft worn down. I traced a hand across the metal. Cold. Honest. When something fails, you have two options: rebuild or scrap. I rebuilt myself, piece by piece. I stopped taking Linda's betrayal personally. It wasn't about me. It was about a woman who wanted more than the life she earned and chose the fastest, ugliest route to get it. Her downfall wasn't my victory. It was simply the natural end of a machine running on lies. I learned something important in the aftermath. Strength isn't loud. It doesn't swing fists or scream in kitchens. Strength is quiet, steady. It's standing firm when someone tries to make you smaller. It's walking away without leaving pieces of yourself behind. Months passed. Seasons changed. And one morning, unlocking the shop, I realized something simple but true. I wasn't angry anymore. Not numb, not bitter, just free. I didn't need revenge to feel whole. I needed truth, clarity, and a clean break. I got all three. And as the sun rose over Millbrook, warming the shop windows, I understood the final lesson. Some engines can be saved. Some you scrap and move on. I chose to move on.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.